Okay, folks, bear with me just one moment as we get locked and loaded, ready to go for a week 13 preview in the Fantasy Football League. I am, of course, Mark Wells, and I am back from Tucson, Arizona. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by Mr. Batter Ray. Batter is
okay, folks, bear with me just one moment as we get locked and loaded, ready to go.
Batter is out in Tucson. You just heard that. So we're just going to get this shared to the various sources we need to get this out to, and then we'll get it started. So let's see here. Okay, so I think that should do it. I'm going to invite Batter Ray. And be with you in just a moment. Sometimes people love to see the behind the scenes action that we have here as we lead into it. So a little background, we've had this fantasy league going for a number of years. This year's been one of the most competitive years we've had to date. And Batter Ray and I currently stand 1 and 2 in the standings. We have a little thing that we call the King of Points, and which is the overall points leader for the entire season. And as it stands today, Batter, Ray, and I stand within 1.5 points of one another. So we'll have him here in just a second. So bear with us. This week, as we head into week 13, we have 14 regular season weeks. So we're down to the wire here as far as the Fantasy Football League goes. And we have him here. Let's bring him in. Batter.
Mark Wells, how you doing?
Good. Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a few days.
I made it safe back. I'm safely in quarantine back here in New York State for 3 days, but thanks for keeping me so safe out there in the desert.
Oh, I enjoyed your company. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Batter and I, we were talking about this. We got together twice out in Arizona. We've been in this league. You've been in the league how many times, Batter? Or how many years? 6, 7 years, something like that?
I think closer to 9 or 10.
Wow. Well, time flies when you're having fun. He's a 2-time champion. He currently stands at the top. We had a little issue where I thought it was much like election night. I was claiming victory, and I thought claiming that I was the king. And lo and behold, suddenly these votes and these points come in after midnight, Batter. And you currently stand, even though I beat you handily head to head, you are the king of points as it stands as we head into today's action.
Yeah, what is this? We've played 12 games, and I have a 1 point or 2 point lead.
That's incredible. I think it's exactly 1.5 points.
It is exactly 1.5 points. That's incredible.
And do you mind sharing? And you gave me this secret, and I'm a king, much like yourself. You gave me a little tip regarding how you select your defenses. Is that something we should share with our listeners, or is that something that you think is best for them to figure out on their own?
Well, see, that's the thing. So I like, in terms of my defenses, I like teams that stop the run. ESPN and our scoring system, every run stuff is 0.5 points. But what I've realized is ESPN doesn't do a good job tallying those up during the game. And It's usually next morning that they add those points.
So that's your explanation for how you took over the King of Points.
I told you that happened before it happened. Do you remember?
The prophet himself, Batter Ray.
Don't get too excited, my friend.
So the other thing that Batter and I talked about, so as many of you know, we're looking to open an office out in Tucson, Arizona. 3 Buckets Wealth Management. Batter himself has a new business that he's getting off the ground. Batter, if you don't mind sharing with the listeners, tell them a little bit about what you have going on.
Well, we just started, I have a partner, my partner, Eric Mokhtarian. So we basically just started this business where, excited, my friend. So I'm listening and watching us at the same time. My apologies.
No problem.
How do you mute this? There you go.
These are the things we will iron out in the future, folks.
No, we basically have a business where we help people get their home sold. So whether you need a quick move and hassle-free type sale, we can come in. We work with the top investors in Southern Arizona, and we can buy your home and make it an easy, seamless process. Or if you're looking to max out your return and really get as much as you can out of it, what we'll do is we'll tell you what you need to do to get your home prepared, and then we'll help you list it, and our services are discounted. So really it's more money in your pocket. So it depends on what route you want to go. We can help you. It's like a one-stop shop for your real estate needs.
That's great. And I think that's part of the pairing that kind of maybe part of the reason why we connect so well is that's kind of how we do it at Three Buckets, where we kind of encompass the whole financial planning picture, whether it be on the insurance side, the investment side. We can help direct you from an estate planning standpoint, working with a number of different attorneys. And so I'm really looking forward to getting out there and spending more time. Of course, a lot of people have been asking, we're still going to be here in the capital region of New York, and of course up in Fort Covington, but hopefully we'll be out there in Tucson on a regular basis, be adding a few new advisors over the next couple of months. So Bader and I are talking about doing more and more on from the podcasting standpoint. So stay tuned for probably a variety of topics that we have coming your way in the near future.
Yes. Some need permission to get, before we can roll out, but others are fantasy football and safe and fun. So
That's right. So let's get into our league here, Bader, what everyone I'm sure cares about. We talked about how it would be great to someday have a reality show based around this league, just for all the stories and things that have happened over the years. But as we head into week 13, so there's 14 weeks in this fantasy regular season. Once again, I am the projected top point getter this week at 178. And because you and I are neck and neck, you're at 159 is the projection. Both projected to win by 20 plus points this coming week. So why don't we take a look at you and Smuts Nuts, Lance Smith from up there in the North Country of New York. What are you looking at when you see this matchup for you this week?
Well, he hasn't filled out his roster yet, so I think he's trying to keep me on my toes. He has Mike Davis on a bye, and Mark Andrews is out.
Yeah.
I do see that he has Robert Tonyan on the bench, and Tonyan could have a really good game. Anytime Aaron Rodgers is throwing you the ball, you have a lot of potential. And then I'm not sure who he's going to put in for Mike Davis. I mean, he has Zach Moss. Probably need to put in Michael Pittman in that Michael Pittman Jr. in that slot position, flex. I don't know. I like my chances this week, but if you look at his score last week, he did score over 190 points. So obviously this team can put up points. At the moment, I do like my chances, but Smuts Nuts is a good team, and they can surprise you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big concerns I have this week, and I agree. I had not noticed that he did not fill out his roster just yet. But I'll tell you, getting Mostert back has been a big pickup for you. I really like him down the stretch. Justin Herbert, I do you remember when you picked him up? I mean, that's been just one of your best moves of the season so far. Have you had him most of the way?
When Dak got injured, I picked up Herbert. I like having two elite quarterbacks on the roster, and I knew he had a chance to be elite based on those first couple games he started. He looked phenomenal with his deep ball and really doesn't look like a rookie out there. So I picked him up, and I'd typically be playing Kyler Murray, but with the matchup Murray has, I think it's safe to say that he and his shoulder injury, I don't think he'll be running as much as he normally does. So I just felt like Herbert was a safe bet this week.
Yeah, I think that is a wise decision on your part. I really like it. If we head over to my matchup batter, the big concern I have is, as we discussed, I'm currently projected at 178. I also currently have Kirk Cousins in the lineup. Word came this morning that Lamar Jackson is expected to play come Tuesday. So I'm curious from a strategy standpoint, and I know we're neck and neck here, how would you break down that decision, not just for me, but maybe other people that are watching that that have Lamar Jackson but have to decide on whether to wait until Tuesday to have him in their lineup?
So the thing with the Lamar Jackson situation, obviously both healthy, ready to go. I'm picking Lamar Jackson every single time.
Yeah.
With that said, you saw how Cam Newton looked before his COVID diagnosis and how he looked after?
Yeah.
And I know people are asymptomatic, don't feel anything at all. But Lamar, he missed last week and they barely cleared him today. So he was feeling something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if just his health, I'm not sure if he'll have the energy he needs to really lead a football team, the way he normally does. So I think for the general public, I think they should stay away from Lamar Jackson. If they have someone good on their bench for you, though, I think you should play him for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough, as you know, it's tough deciding which of the free agent quarterbacks to go with, especially when you get to this point in the season. And, I have Kirk Cousins in there. I think the matchup is great with Jacksonville. I think if it wasn't for the king of points that we implemented just a couple years ago, I would probably certainly play it safe with Kirk Cousins. As it looks like, and I hate to jinx myself, but as it looks like I have a pretty solid advantage this week. But as we approach game time here at 1:00, unfortunately, that's when Kirk Cousins plays. I think I will make the pivot and go back to Lamar Jackson and roll the dice.
You are rolling the dice for sure with that. Obviously, the upside is higher, but he might not look like the same player out there too. So risk you're willing to take. I don't mind it.
The other concern I have when I look at my team is, I did go with I'm drawing a blank now. Philadelphia's quarterback. How am I drawing a blank? He's played so horribly this year. What's that?
Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, Carson Wentz. I don't know why I drew a blank on that. Must be the jet lag batter coming back to the East Coast.
I get it.
But one thing that concerns me with Miles Sanders, who I love, is he's averaging over 6 yards a carry, but I believe it's been since week 3 or so that he's had 20 touches in a game. And I don't really understand that, especially with their whole offense being a bit of a mess. He seems to be the surefire thing there. As I head down the stretch, as much as I like him as one of the people in my backfield along with Dalvin Cook, I'm concerned about the touches that Miles Sanders is getting there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I get your concern, but considering Green Bay ranks 30th against the run or against running backs this season,
yep.
You have to keep him in there. I mean, you couldn't have a better week. Whether you go with Kirk Cousins or Lamar, you're playing against the 25th worst or 30th, second to last worst defense. Same with your 2 running backs. I mean, your team is there in terms of opponent rank. You're sitting pretty this week, really pretty. It's incredible.
And one of the beautiful things that we got to enjoy together was that performance by Tyreek Hill last week in our matchup.
I'm very happy that I am a big football fan in general, because that could have ruined my day, but I really did enjoy that performance. Took him from the number 6 wide receiver in our league, I believe, to number 1.
Yep.
Replacing your other wide receiver, Devontae Adams. So
who's missed some time.
Yeah.
So I don't get too caught up in the ESPN rankings and the different rankings you see. They can help to be a guide at times when you're trying to face a tiebreaker between just whether to start this person or that person. But almost every ranking place I've looked at this week has Adams and Hill 1-2 in the entire league at wide receiver. And again, like you said, with Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders with their opponents this week, and Kirk Cousins for that matter, even Allen Robinson and the Raiders playing our Commissioner's Jets. So if I can't pull off the victory this week, batter and take home the KOP,
it'll be enough if you don't take home the KOP this week. Fried Dough to go. I mean, he has a really good team. I just have your team move, having a better week simply because if you look at his opponent rank, Aaron Rodgers playing against the 8th toughest defense, Devin Singletary the 7th, Travis Kelce 9th, Amari Cooper 5th, Chase Claypool 3rd. So I mean, he's playing against some tough he has some tough matchups this week. But his roster itself, I do like his roster.
Yeah, I think the one thing we can say for sure, and I'm sure people want to hear us talk about something other than our teams and our matchups, but the one thing that I did notice, I think both you and I are up 200 points or thereabouts on the next highest person when it comes to the points title. So barring something really crazy happening the last 2 weeks, it does seem like it's going to come down to either you or myself as the king of points here in 2020. But one of the key matchups that I thought we should look at, because as you know, we only get 4 teams in the playoffs. We have a matchup between the 4th ranked Bermuda Bumblebees and Big John's Little Pals. So Red currently stands at 8-4. Big John is at 7-5. And it's probably the matchup of the week. Not even just in terms of how close it is, but because of playoff implications. Right now, Big John's Little Pals is a 1-point favorite against our commissioner. What are your thoughts as we take a look at that matchup here today? Let's start with the underdog in this matchup. Let's start with Bermuda Bumblebees.
The Bermuda Bumblebees. I mean, when you have Patrick Mahomes and Alvin Kamara on your squad, you always look good. On paper, the Bumblebees look a lot better than I think they are because Ezekiel Elliott has really underperformed this year. I mean, he's been terrible, really, for what you're expecting when you draft him top 3.
Yep.
Edwards-Helaire, he's dipped a little bit in performance since Le'Veon Bell's come on. This is a tough one to call. I mean, I do like both rosters, but when you look at Russell Wilson this year and Patrick Mahomes, that's almost a wash. I think we should just go matchup by matchup, actually, because this is really close. It's hard to analyze them separately.
No, I agree. I mean, the one thing that strikes me, like I always thought of Reds teams in the past, his teams were always very much constructed by a very high level performance at the wide receiver position. And maybe that's just the way this has fallen this year. I mean, Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, these guys are leading his receiving core and not what you typically think of as from a Bumblebees type squad.
Well, Red had 2 great keepers for years, and Green and Julio Jones.
Yep.
And then and Mike Evans. He had those 3 keepers for a long time. But when you pick up Alvin Kamara for $1 and you pick up Patrick Mahomes for $1 or draft them for $1, I think Kamara was picked up and Mahomes drafted, I believe.
Yep.
Got to get rid of those wide receivers. You have to keep those people. And just to give, if anyone outside the league is watching, we have a keeper league that's also an auction league. So you get to keep your players for the value you drafted them. So if you have the foresight to say, oh, Alvin Kamara is going to be a stud one day and you draft him for $1, well, you get to keep him for $1 forever. So he has by far 2 of the best keepers in the league in terms of Kamara and Mahomes. So I think that's when his wide receiver heavy type teams went away, is when he got those 2 guys.
No, that is true. And it's funny, the Giants have come on pretty strong. That's who Russell Wilson plays this week for Big John's Little Pals. Believe it or not, can you believe the Giants are the 5th best team against the pass batter?
No, that blows me away. Maybe because at the beginning of the season, no one had to pass past the 3rd quarter. So, but they really have come on strong. They look like a team that wants to win. Now, who's playing quarterback for them this week?
I don't believe I believe it's going to be Colt McCoy. I know Daniel Jones they were looking at. I haven't seen anything official on that. But I believe it is going to be Colt McCoy. So, I mean, from a pure game standpoint, obviously Seattle, should be able to win that game. But as much as I love Russell Wilson, he's one of my favorite players in the game. He's got a tough matchup here this week. But again, his projection, according to ESPN, is at 28. I've got to say, I think in this matchup, I like Big John's Little Pals. I just think on balance, I think when you look at the projections across the board, as you mentioned, Julio Jones, a former member of the Bumblebees, they made that trade a couple years ago. He's going to be motivated today against Red in the squad. And I like Robert Woods in that Arizona matchup. I think that's going to be great. And you got the Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett combo. And then you got the Ravens defense against Dallas. So I think if I were to put my stake in the ground, I think I'm going to select Big John's Little Pals to be victorious here against Red this week.
I think I'd have to agree with you. I mean, anytime you have Patrick Mahomes, like I said, and Alvin Kamara, they could win a game by themselves for you. It's hard to pick against that team, but overall, Russell Wilson, Kenyon Drake, Woods, and Clarence, I mean, he just looks like he has a better squad this week.
And what's going to make it interesting, Batter, is that if that does play out, so if that happens and Big John's Little Pals wins this matchup, it's going to come down to week 14. Obviously, who wins, who loses, but it's going to come down to points. Right now, Red has a 59-point lead on the season, which would be the tiebreaker should they end with the same record. So we'll see if Big John can close that gap and have a big win, because it may all be for nothing, assuming that they end up with the same record. And then you have Philly, who we should probably look at, who's in that 6th spot. They're at 1951, so 19 points back from Red, but they are 2 games back, so that's going to be a tough one. They're going to need to win both, hope Red loses today, and then just beat those 2 on points.
I mean, it is kind of incredible that it's week 13 in our league, and we have 7 teams that still have a chance to make the playoffs. That's incredible.
It really is.
This week is huge because 6 of those teams are playing each other.
Yep.
So you have To Go and the Toga Temptations both sitting at 8-4. You have Smuts Nuts and Arizona Horned Frogs at 6-6 and 8-4, and then the Bumblebees and Big Johns at 8-4 and 7-5. So I mean, if Red wins this week, you win this week, and I win this week, there's really only 1 spot left going into next week.
Yeah.
But Fried Dough wins, Big John's wins, and Smuts Nuts wins, then all 7 are still alive if Philly wins as well.
Right. And if we look at it, so we've got looking at the last 2 games, Red and the Bumblebees, they take on Big John's Little Pals, slight underdog this week. Next week they're playing Smuts Nuts, who again, good team, but they're on the outside looking in. It most likely. If we look at Philly, they play me. They play Team of Relevance this week, which should be a win, and then they play me next week. So that's obviously should be a good matchup, but a tough one. Big John's Little Pals, he's got Sean next week. So if he can win this week, he should be able to beat Sean in week 14 and have a 2-game, have two wins to close out the season. And who was the last team? In Fried Dough to Go. So he's got it tough. He plays me this week and he plays you next week. So he could end up 8-6. That's a tough way to end the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough way either way. I mean, look at Big John's Little Pals. I think they were sitting at 7-1, weren't they? Or 6-1?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's tough. I wouldn't mind. You can't root for and against, I guess, certain teams, but it's just it's tough when you have so many good teams in the league. It's hard to see only 4 go through, but I mean, it could be me on the outside looking in, or you still, there's a chance that we don't make it. So.
Right. It's going to be, that is true. It's going to be, given our points lead, it's going to be tough for that to happen, just given that we can only tie everyone else and they're going to have to overtake us in points. But yeah, certainly within the realm of possibility. And to your point about the league being strong, now let's see if they have their full lineups in. Philly is an underdog this week to Team of Relevance, a 2-10 team. Team of Relevance is a 3.5 point favorite over Philly today, and what is an absolute must win for Philly. If he doesn't win today, I think he is done.
Yeah, he is. If he absolutely needs to win today. And then looking at Team of Relevance, this is the best 2-10 team you'll ever see. I mean, you have Austin Eckler, who's been out almost the entire season. Michael Thomas missed 7 games. Philip Lindsay, no need to mention him. Saquon Barkley out early. This is an amazing team. He's just been really hit with the injury bug. So I like his team this week. He's favored on points, and on paper, he looks really good. Darren Waller's a stud. Justin Jefferson. He has a really good young team. He has too many keepers to pick from. So definitely the 2-10 team I've ever seen.
And what's crazy, and obviously I know there's been injuries, but I saw that, and there's a few other, Antonio Brown, if there's another receiver, I can't think of who it was, but Tyreek Hill had more points this past week than Michael Thomas has had all season. Now, that is something that no one would ever imagine would be the case. Michael Thomas was obviously, in many cases, the top receiver off the board or the highest dollar. And again, injuries play a part, but it's just crazy the bad luck that that team Irrelevance has had. Obviously losing Saquon Barkley early on in the season. So you're right. They're a really good team. Austin Eckler's been good. So they are not a team that's going to, they could play, not that Rick would ever want to stir the pot, but they are a team that would, that could play the upset special here as we close out the regular season.
I think Rick is looking at KOP today. He has a chance.
Yep.
Derek Carr.
I believe has he taken home one KOP so far? I feel like maybe he has.
I don't think.
Let me just take a quick look. Let me go to our league chat here and just see if I know the commissioner recently put it up. No, he hasn't. Rick's only had one pit. Sean has had 6 pit of miseries this season, but no one else has had more than one. So it's just been an incredible season, very competitive, and I'm just lucky to be a part of the league. It's great.
Oh, it's such an incredible league. It really is. I mean, I never thought I'd be in a fantasy football league for going on 10 years, I believe. But it's so much fun. Everybody's so good. Everyone knows their football. I don't think I've ever played anyone that didn't have their roster filled out.
Right. That is so key. So
never. I mean, I have friends of mine that I've talked to about our league that are asking when they can get in, and I tell them, like, I'm sorry, just it's not happening. You know.
Is that because you don't think they would be able to take it as seriously, or do you think, or are you thinking just due to like the maybe not wanting to expand to say a 12-team format?
I don't want to expand to a 12-team format. I like that it's 10 teams and only 4 make it to the playoffs. I like how exclusive the league has become. And it's also just being a little selfish. I'm trying to keep my community to myself here in Tucson. So,
well, Batter, if I come out there, that's a way for me to meet people. You know, so maybe we start a fantasy light
business. We can do some happy hours for the business. We don't need to invite people into the league, though. You can.
And by the way, may I just say, those specs you have on are pretty nice. I didn't see those when I was out in Tucson.
I have a funny story about these. So I knew I needed glasses. I was, catch myself squinting all the time, getting headaches. So I see this ad, 2 pair for $79, right? I'm like, that's what I need. I don't want to spend an arm and a leg on glasses. I'm going to go and get 2 pair for $79. Well, I'll just give the very short version. I left there with 2 pair, definitely, but I ended up spending over $500 because I'm the worst, easiest person.
Well, you skip one of the most important parts of the story, Batter. If I remember the story properly, and I think what was the beer we're having? Barros, or how do you say it?
Barrio Blonde.
So I think I may have had a couple of Barrio Blondes at this point, but if I recall, you did the right thing where you sent a picture of the glasses to your wife so she could say, "Oh, you have to get those," and therefore you're in the clear.
Oh, in terms of the spending, she's never going to argue with me.
She has what you meant was she has no argument when it comes to the spending, right?
Well, I think both are accurate. No, she has good style. I wanted her opinion, and if I was going to spend that kind of money, if she gives a thumbs up, I was going to, makes me feel a little better.
Absolutely. You may notice here, Batter, if you look over my left shoulder, this beautiful piece that
oh, nice.
So let me bring this out here. This was a nice piece from Peter and Leslie, something I can have when I'm back here on the East Coast to remind me of my time in the desert. So
now,
that was
pronounce that?
What's that?
Do you know how to pronounce that?
No, I'd love to hear it.
No, I want to do you know? Do you have to know?
Is it Saguaro?
There you go. Okay.
Woo! And what was remember there was the other thing that they asked me to pronounce when we went to the place to watch football, and I nailed that one as well. I can't remember what it was, the bartender, waitress.
I don't know. People in Tucson get a little mean. They act like everyone should know that Tucson is spelled with the C before the S and Saguaro has a G in it.
Now, are you one batter? Do you judge somebody that accidentally writes dessert as opposed to desert when they're typing something, or that doesn't matter much?
I lived overseas from the 2nd grade to the 9th grade, and English was not the first language over there. So my English and my vocabulary is probably subpar. So I make sure, just because of my own insecurities, not to judge other people.
I don't. Of all the things we talked about, so you were overseas for how many years?
Almost 7.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I knew that. Well, we learned.
Yeah, but when I was 2nd grade, my dad was ashamed that we didn't speak Arabic, and he's Arab. So we moved overseas, and we were thrown into an all Arabic school where no one spoke English. I mean, it was very tough. It was tough. But I mean, we learned the language in a little over a year. So I guess that is a good technique or good strategy to do. I just hated my dad for that year. That's all. But once we lived there and learned the language and got to meet the people, we didn't want to come back almost,
Yep. So you were in Tucson, went over there, and then came back?
Yeah, born in Tucson, lived here the first 7 years of our lives, or my life, moved over there for almost the next 7, and then back in Tucson since.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. I've always wanted to speak another language. I grew up near Canada, but other than taking French class, never really picked up the language. So I think that's a cool thing to be able to do.
Yeah, I definitely. It's fun, you have to keep it up. So I don't have a ton of friends that speak the language here in Tucson. So I try to watch like a couple of shows or a movie, just to keep those words fresh in my mind. Because if you don't use it, you don't hear it, you'll lose it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts that you have in regards to week 13 in our league, or just generally speaking?
Generally speaking, it's really awesome that here we are, week 13, 2 games left, and there's 7 teams still in it. And like I said a little bit ago, 6 of them are playing each other this week. You got 2 8-4 matchups, an 8-4, a 7-5 matchup, and then a 6-6, and an 8-4 matchup. I mean, that's just an amazing league. Like we were saying before. I think next week we should maybe get on a little earlier and explain to people how our league is different from other people, and see if we can persuade them to follow suit.
I know. I think that's great. I think anytime you can explain how you do things a little bit differently, even us talking business, you wanted to get a clear picture of what it was I did, because there's a lot of, and even with you, I with the real estate stuff, you hear real estate, but you don't really know exactly what that means. So it's always kind of cool, whether you're talking business or fantasy football. I think with this league, we have set it up, and it's been tweaked over the years to add different features in. And I think, although sometime down the road, I'm sure we'll have some new idea that makes sense to add. I think we've hit a true sweet spot in regards to people understanding the rules. I even picked up on something from you with the rush defense this week. So it's a league where I feel like we're all able to learn a bit from each other in the way that we construct our lineups each week.
Yeah. No, it's an awesome league, and everything changes. I mean, look at last year, the average score was like 185, 190, where this year it seems to be 160. So, I mean, even the NFL changes from year to year. So it's like it reflects on us, and you have to think, okay, maybe running backs aren't the way to go, or maybe wide receivers aren't the way to go. So it's just fun.
Absolutely. And I was just I know you're unable to do this out in the desert. That's one of the downsides, and maybe that's why I won't be out there until after football season most of the time. But daily fantasy, just wanted to give people a couple thoughts I have on that front. Batter, if you have a moment, I'll let you weigh in at the very least.
Yeah, love to.
So on the daily fantasy side of things, the way it works is you have a cash game, and ultimately what that is you say bet $25. If you win, you double your money. So 25 becomes 50. And then you have your tournaments where you put in $5 and you could win $1 million. And so the way you're going to construct those lineups is a bit different. You're going to maybe spread it out, take a little less risk in the cash game just to be in that top 50% of the contest players. Where in a tournament, you're going to be looking to, have some random third receiver that's very low price that has the potential to go off. So what I'll focus on just quickly, because I know we have to get on with our Sundays, is just today, just focus a little bit on the cash game format, which is a great way to dip your toe into daily fantasy. When I look at quarterbacks this week, it's a very interesting week because, again, just quickly, each player has a certain dollar amount. You have a certain amount of money you can spend. We talked about Russell Wilson earlier today. Russell Wilson has a pretty high price this week and is playing the Giants, which, again, to many people surprised. Many people may see the Giants record and say, geez, Russell Wilson's a great play this week. However, the Giants rank top 5 with the fewest points allowed to fantasy quarterbacks. Another decision that Batter made was the decision not to play Kyler Murray, and he's banged up a little bit. So, again, the question is, how is that going to affect his running game, which is a key part to his success in fantasy. Deshaun Watson really has no receivers to speak of this week. Batter's other guy, Justin Herbert, plays Bill Belichick, who is very complimentary of Justin Herbert this week. But the first time any rookie quarterback plays against Bill Belichick, it's not a great situation in most cases. So quarterbacks are a very tough play this week. So my pick from a fantasy standpoint on either DraftKings or FanDuel is Aaron Rodgers. He's 6,800 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel. I like him there. So that's the quarterbacks. Just quickly going into running backs. Love Myles Gaskin this week with the Jaguars. I love him. I love Dalvin Cook on the other side of the ball. I think those are two guys that you can get. Obviously, Dalvin's going to be a bit higher priced at 9,500 on DraftKings, where you can get Gaskin at 5,900. But on the wide receiver side, I do like, again, another player we touched on this week, a player for the Bermuda Bumblebees, Denzel Mims. Very low cost for the Jets, but I like him against Las Vegas, even though I've got the Vegas defense going this week. I like Robert Woods, now I'm trying to think, who does Robert Woods play for in our team? I know he's in a lineup for someone today as well. I think it might be Big John.
I think Will, right? No.
Oh, it is Will. Yes. So I like him this week very much. And finally, in regards to defenses, I think the two places you want to look, and I'm sorry to say this, Batter, I like the Patriots defense against the Chargers, and I like Green Bay against Philly, who we also talked about how that offense has been a bit of a mess. So that's my quick one over on daily fantasy.
I think there's a couple players that I think I would like to add. I mean, David Montgomery.
Love David Montgomery. Great call. Yep.
I think a great pick. And then Raheem Mostert. People forgot about him, but I mean, his first 3 games of the year when he was healthy, I think he broke off at least a 60-yard run or reception for a touchdown. So he could go a long ways too for you, I think. What is his value on DraftKings?
For which player was for which
Mostert?
Let me just double check. I was outside of that. While I pull that up for you, one other point that you made on David Montgomery is the Bears are favored at home against the Lions today. Lions are giving up 133.4 rushing yards per game, which is the 5th most. And so I just love him at 5,500. So I mentioned Myles Gaskin. David Montgomery is actually less costly at 5,500. So great. Even though Batter's unable to play out there in the desert, I love that pick. As far as Mostert is concerned, give me just 1 second. I'll have that value for you. I had this all up, Batter, and the beauty of live streaming. What time? Oh, they're playing. They played Monday night, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wasn't seeing it. I was looking at the Sunday contest. Let's see here. So Mostert is. Why can't I? I'm sorry, folks. I cannot find him for whatever reason today, but I'm sure.
Before we get off, like a little, have you been following Deebo Samuel and the 49ers at all this year?
A little Mostert 6,200 Batter, so 6,200, just a little bit more than Gaskin and David Montgomery. Probably not to the extent you have. What were you going to say in regards to them?
I'm struggling between David Johnson and Houston with the running back Houston and between playing him or Debo Samuel this week. That's my only struggle right now. I also have Melvin Gordon on the bench. Lost all faith in him. Juju, same with him. Although he has come on strong the last few weeks, but I probably keep him on my bench.
Yeah, that is my gut for some reason. David Johnson, I don't know. I just feel like he hasn't been the same, and he missed last week, right? Or did he missed? Yeah.
So I'm thinking he's fresh.
It could be. Yeah. So you got him. Who else do you have? Mostert in that game with San Francisco. You have Samuel, which would be 2. Buffalo, obviously. They're kind of middle of the pack as far as the defense is concerned. Better against the pass than they are against the rush. Where David Johnson, who you do currently have in there against Indiana, I don't know. I don't envy you on that one. That is a tough call for sure.
You want to come and say hi?
Hi.
How's it going?
This is Theodore Dean Ray.
You ready for breakfast, Teddy, or what?
Oh, he's already had 2 breakfasts, and we're going to. No, he's had 1 breakfast, and now we're going to breakfast with Santa at the club.
Very nice.
Yes.
How are they going to handle that in this COVID era better? Have you heard?
They're just going to have him outside, on the golf course area, the putting green area. Tables and everything are outside. It was a tough decision to, whether to go or not. Oh, and then Camilla Rose Ray came too.
Oh, she's ready to go. You can see that.
But, we want the kids to have some fun and they're not in school. It's just, we'll be judged. It is what it is.
No, I think it's great. I mean, Santa is, I was reading an article this morning before I came on. Santa has been deemed an essential employee.
He is essential, especially this time.
Yeah. So he can't, he'll be, made that night, he'll be masked up in your home, but today it'll be a great time. So I hope you enjoy that.
No, we're excited. The kids are excited. That's why they're still in here.
Well, this is great batter. I'll let you guys go. Thanks again for joining me for this week 13 preview. Best of luck. And we'll be talking. Take care.
Have a good one, Mark. Thanks for putting this on.
You got it. Take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.